What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. WWE reuniting with Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Can they coexist one more time? That's the question for the pro wrestling world. We'll talk all about it coming up. Big shout out to a couple of longtime subscribers to the channel and channel members, Colin and Sam Byers, for those super thankses and a recent upload. Appreciate the coffees. Never needed, always appreciated. Colin and Sam Byers. Much respect over to you guys. Before we get into the Vince McMahon WWE reuniting saga, I do want to touch base on a couple of other side stories. Number one, we are hearing that the rumored shakeup for the announcers is actually happening. Announcer from NXT, Alicia Taylor, is going to SmackDown, where then Mike Rome will head down to NXT. So that swap we are hearing is going to be official, no longer just a rumor. Alicia Taylor up from NXT to the main roster SmackDown. Mike Rome leaving SmackDown, going to NXT. Also, want to touch base on Saudi Arabia. There was a story going around that Saudi Arabia is really pushing for a WrestleMania in the future. Not just way distant, but the near future. And that looks like it could be a real possibility. The chairman of the Saudi Arabia General Entertainment Authority said recently that there's been an enhancement to the current deal between them and WWE. So this enhancement, from what we are hearing, involves a major PLE. This would go with the initial reports that they're really pushing for the king of all PLEs, WrestleMania. So that's something to keep an eye on. At first, it was just a rumor going around where people just scoffed at it, said, that'll never happen. Now we're hearing this enhancement is absolutely bringing a major PLE. So that's either got to be Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, or I guess Money in the Bank would qualify as a major PLE now. Other than that, it would be the grandest of them all, WrestleMania, and that was the original report. They really want WrestleMania, and they have unlimited funds. You guys know they're getting 50 mil every time they run a show in Saudi Arabia. If you don't think they'll throw 200 for a Mania plus, they absolutely would. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Saudi Arabia getting a WrestleMania in the future. At least that's the real push. And again, the chairman of the Saudi Arabia General Entertainment Authority said there has been an enhancement to their current deal. Now, on to Vince McMahon and WWE. This is big. Now, you guys already know the legal woes for Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the accusations levied down to McMahon, the lawsuit that has been laid down in front of Vince McMahon and WWE and John Laurinaitis. So instead of rehashing what we already know, I want to fast forward to an eventful last couple of weeks, starting with April 23rd. This is where Vince and his legal team filed a motion to compel arbitration. McMahon and his team argued that the plaintiff, Janelle Grant, violated the terms of their original NDA agreement. In turn, McMahon stopped payments to Grant. Of course, this led to the current lawsuit because Grant felt she did no wrong, and it's McMahon violating the terms by stopping payment. McMahon's legal team has filed the motion for arbitration, and in a stunning turn of events, John Laurinaitis, people power, has flipped back to Team VKM straight out of a pro wrestling storyline. John Laurinaitis, this is shocking because John Laurinaitis was going to play the role of turning on Vince McMahon, right? He alleged, and his team sent out a statement, that John Laurinaitis was also a victim to Vince McMahon's heinous actions. Now, Laurinaitis is like, well, wait, I think the winning strategy here is to join McMahon. So that obviously tells you they're seeing a lot of holes into the legal game of Janelle Grant, the plaintiff. There's obviously a lot going on that they're starting to see the case kind of crumble for Grant, and speed, traction, momentum is starting to build on Team McMahon. And it doesn't stop with Laurinaitis joining back with Vince McMahon. WWE is now ready to also file that motion to compel arbitration. Because don't forget, WWE was named in this lawsuit. They were just doing everything on their own, separate from Vince and Kennedy. Now they're ready to also join McMahon and Laurinaitis in filing this motion to compel arbitration. Can they coexist? Once more is the question. Now, if you're wondering what is compel to arbitration, right? That is a motion requested to the court for a specific ruling, direction, or order. So you can compel arbitration as long as you have a valid and enforceable written agreement to force the other party to submit the dispute to arbitration. So let me simplify that. In other words, you're asking the court to enforce a contractual arbitration clause, which the original NDA that McMahon and Grant signed actually had in it. So that's why McMahon and the legal team is like, well, wait a second. It says right here, we have to go to arbitration. And unless you can prove otherwise, unless you can prove that I violated the NDA, we are going to arbitration. And that's why I say John Laurinaitis and now WWE, after really seeing the fine details in this case, that's why them joining Vince McMahon is huge. Because now they're saying, wait, there is no proof. They have zero proof that McMahon violated that NDA or any validation that he violated it. Thus, we're filing this motion. And unless they, the plaintiff and their team now, Janelle Grant's team, they now have to prove McMahon violated that NDA. They have to prove what they have been claiming. It's one of those put up or shut up times. That's what they're saying. And WWE is now joining. Now the case is building now against Janelle Grant. And this is where they are now going to be forced to come up with the documentation, come up with the evidence that shows that Vince McMahon violated this NDA. Otherwise, it's Grant who's been violating, and now she has to be forced into arbitration. Because, guys, there's two types of arbitration. There is voluntary and there is mandatory. A lot of times you will get both parties that want to avoid court, so they'll go to arbitration. Then there's times where it's mandatory. The court is telling, because one party does not want to go to arbitration, right? Janelle Grant wants to go to trial. Vince obviously wants this out of the public. WWE, for sure, being a conglomerate company, does not want this public, so they're going to try to do this privately. So when one party doesn't want to, but the other party wants to, well, that's where you have the filing of the motions and the compel to arbitration, all that good stuff. But if they cannot produce any valid reason as to why they don't want to go to arbitration, then that's where the court will mandate arbitration. And that's what WWE and Vince McMahon and People Power John Laurinaitis, that's what they're trying to do right now. So now it's up to Grant and her team to produce a reason why this should not go to arbitration. This is just a massive W for Vince McMahon the last week, having John Laurinaitis flip back to you when it was looking really bad if Laurinaitis was going to go against Vince. But obviously Laurinaitis' team started to see, whoa, hold on. Vince's side is gaining traction here. Grant's side is falling apart. So Laurinaitis flips back, files the same motion, thinking that's the best strategy. They must know something, right? Just like Vince McMahon's legal team. And then an even bigger, massive W for Vince McMahon is getting the conglomerate known as World Wrestling Entertainment to jump basically on your side and file the same exact motion. So obviously WWE's legal team seeing the same damn thing. It's going to be interesting to see, man. Vince McMahon and WWE once again coexisting. Oh, man. Is it possible? Is Vincent Kennedy McMahon once again going to wiggle out of this one? But if the evidence is not strong, if there is no wrongdoing that is actually levied down onto Vince McMahon, there's no other way for the courts to rule other than this does not go to trial. It's going to be interesting to see, man. I believe May 24th, a big decision is going to be levied down for Vince McMahon. So it'll be interesting to see. As I said, we'll keep track on it for sure. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. BC and the Amplified unit saying check you. Peace.